We all know 2020 has not been the best year for competitive Pokemon play, but it has been an amazing year for collectors and fans of the TCG. With organised play cancelled through to the end of the year, there is definitely something missing in the Pokemon TCG world. Enter sealed only Pokemon. Like many before me, such as Nim Nim, Revs, Fat Moose and Let's Play Pokemon, I'm going to dive into a unique and fun trading card challenge. On a budget of £30 an episode, I'll be trying to build a competitive Pokemon deck ready for the return of organised play. The catch? I can only use sealed official products to build my deck. That means no trading, no buying singles, and no easy way out. So with that in mind, let's crack some packs. To say last week was a disappointment would be true, but also unfair. I knew going into this project that if I chose to start from the theme decks that we'd have a long road ahead of us to get to a place where we were actually taking wins every week. That being said, both the games I played for last episode and the few I've played with the deck since have shown me quite how far we have to go. I'm feeling more and more, however, that water was the right choice for me, as I could have gone with any of the League Battle decks, but there just wasn't one that clicked for me as a player. And if I'm going to be losing, I might as well be having fun while I'm doing it. There's a lot of product we need to pick up, and I'm starting to fret over which one we should do in what order. Do we do the Trainers Toolkit this week? Do we get as many Sword and Shield packs as we can get our hands on for Frostmoth? Or do we just rush out and get the Zacian V League Battle deck? And honestly, I think I've settled on the realisation that I'm not sure it matters. We have so much to get that not one product will fix all of our issues. So I'm sticking to my word from last week, and we will be opening the Trainers Toolkit this episode. I've been looking at a lot of water lists online for inspiration, and one thing they all have in common is Dedenne-GX, so there's no wrong week to open up this product. We picked up this box for £23, which with the £1 from last week leaves us with £8 remaining. And I know that I said we'd be opening celebration packs until we got Inteleon V Max, but I thought it's been 2 episodes back to back of that and picked up 2 packs of Sword and Shield instead. But don't fret, we'll be back on the Inteleon V Max hunt next episode, of that I am very sure. But without further ado, let's bust into what is probably the best product that the Pokémon Company International has ever put out. Now, I have actually opened one of these up before for my personal collection outside of this series, but that was on release, which feels like a while ago now. So I haven't been able to see what's in this for some time. I remember there's 4 packs that we'll get to crack open as well this week, as well as obviously all of the wonderful staple trainers if I can get into the box. This is actually a really nice box as well that I will probably upgrade, as at the moment our sealed only collection is sitting in this tin rather haphazardly. So it'll be nice to upgrade that off camera as well. Nice, can't even go wrong with that. Sleeves, which are really nice actually, but we've got our katana sleeves that we're using. Markers. What other packs? Unbroken Bonds, which is, you know, hard to come by now. Another Sword and Shield, which is great. Oh, and we do still get to go for Inteleon V Max this episode. I couldn't remember what packs were in this box, so that's great. I'll put these to one side for now. Our fluff in terms of the box with the packs and whatever. What am I saying? Booklets. Box. Shut up. We have ourselves a code that I will keep hold of. A wad of energy. I think this is like the 3rd brick of these I've got now that I haven't even opened. And the wonder that is Dedenne-GX. I'll crack open its packaging. I've also sorted through it, and apart from Dedenne, put everything that we'll be using towards the end, and so I can speed through the stuff that won't be making it in. We have enough Professor's research, so while it's always great to see Professor Magnolia, she will not be making it in. Mallow and Lana is a great card and could make it into future versions of our build, but right now I'm not sure we have the room to be doing switching and healing. I could be wrong, we'll find out. Air Balloon could be a one-off. This one actually could be at the back, same as Mallow and Lana, but is unlikely. Energy Spinner, I don't see it being useful right now. Fire crystals for fire, 100% no. Green's exploration goes against our Dubwool V, so it's unlikely that we'll be using this. Ordinary Rod we already have. Switch we already have. Vitality Band, I just can't see it helping us 10 extra damage at the moment. We need way more than that to help us out. Welder attaches fire energy, no good. Giant Hearth, fire. Loads of stuff if you're a fire deck. Metal Saucer, you can imagine why we don't need that. Tool Scrapper, I'm not sure how many tools are actually on the field at the moment in terms of the meta, so I don't think we'll be needing this at the moment. Turffield Stadium does grass. Twin Energy, it would be great for Dubwool V, but doesn't work on V Pokemon, so you're out. Aurora Energy, we're only sticking to one type at the moment, don't need it. And Speed Energy, as you imagine, it's only Lightning. Now we're getting into the good stuff. Pokémon Communication not only looks fantastic with this art, but will actually help us start searching out things from our deck as long as we have a Pokemon in hand, which is usually common. This is the start of improving our Pokemon search, which has been sorely lacking, I feel. Rare Candy, we already have one that we opened. Adding more will just improve our consistency, get off that dust. Evolution Incense in the same way will help us search out. I'm not sure the numbers of what we're making into our deck yet, but I imagine most of these I'm talking about now will make it in some form. Reset Stamp goes into our plan of becoming more disruptive, and anything that reduces our opponent's options is A in my book. Boss's Orders. If you've been playing this game at all, you know why we need this card. We can either put a Pokemon onto the bench and start sniping it, or we can bring up something that we had been sniping into the active position and take it out. A-star. Marnie falls into that disruption, but also it's just a great draw, isn't it? There's a lot of things that we don't want to get rid of with Professor's Research or with Dedenne, so being able to put those back into our hand, back into our deck, I should say, rather than binning them is fantastic. Quick Ball will replace a few Great Balls, I'm sure, just because it's just straight up better. What else we've got? Oh, and the Pokégear is last, but I know we already have. But as with the Pokemon Communication and Reset Stamp, this art is just insanely good. So we'll be doing a bit of a rarity artwork bump to these sort of cards here. Now that's everything. Oh, steady on camera. That's everything that we'll definitely be making it in. But we do also have the joy of these packs, so bear with me as we clean up what's here. So this week we have 6 packs, including the 4 that came in the Trainers Toolkit and the 2 extra Sword and Shield that we bought. Rebel Clash, we are all very familiar with at this point, I think. It has the Big Daddy that we're looking for, and it would be insane if we got it from the Trainers Toolkit in an episode where we're already going to be upgrading so much of our deck. I kind of feel like the odds are of us getting something from these packs are quite small. Not based on anything, you know, changing odds, but our deck's just changing so much this episode already that it feels almost creepy to ask for more. Xatu, Reverse Wingull, and Evolve V! I mean, if I had gone with a Pikarom deck, this would be amazing. But instead, it's just a fun little pull. Let's put him up there, his face down there. So far in this series, we have pulled some tasty cards, but none of them have been what we're looking for. And I guess that's the major struggle. The major struggle of doing this, isn't it? Whereas Yu-Gi-Oh! Sealed only, and you know, the packs, well, the sets are a bit smaller from what I understand. So the odds of you pulling what you need are slightly higher, I'd imagine. Yu-Gi-Oh! People can correct me in the comments. But Pokemon sets are so huge that the odds of us actually getting what we need, they feel pretty low. they feel pretty low. And yeah. Not to put a damper on the series, I'm still really excited about opening packs every week. But it definitely does put a bit of puts a bit of pressure on selecting supplemental products such as the Trainers Toolkit and everything else to try and beef up what we're doing for certain and not relying too heavily on packs. Although I am feeling like an episode soon, we're just going to have to go nuts and spend all 30 quid on getting ourselves just a whole bunch of double blisters and just seeing what we can do. Boy! You know what? He's going in the deck. He's going in the deck. And I'm going to put a reverse Sobble in the deck because, hey, we have him now. Why not? Last from the Trainers Toolkit packs is Unbroken Bonds. I didn't do my research before this episode and have no idea what's in here we can use. So, post-production Pete will put things here. And I will just have to be surprised if we pull any of them. Okay. Water focus is very jagged today. Sandile, Oddish, Zubat, Puffing, Doodaboo, Psychic, Ogre's Trap. I always want to make poison and status effects work, but I just don't feel it. This helps though, this helps. Miku, Growlithe, and Greninja. It's a holo. I have no memory of if my personal collection needed that, but that'll be nice to see. Frostmoth. We need Frostmoth. Let's do this. Oh. I'm feeling good about this pack. Wooloo is one of my favourite Pokemon. I recently bought a stuffed plushie version for my daughter recently in an attempt to introduce her to the wonder that is Wooloo. And before you ask, by buying it for my daughter, yes, I do mean I bought it for myself. Silicobra, Minccino, Grass Energy, another bead! Ooh, I think I'll use this. Hitmonlee. That's like the 4th rare candy we have now? I mean, and a reverse Ordinary Rod. I'll probably use that as well. Just upgrade everything. And hey! What were we saying about getting great pulls that don't help us? We did it again. This is quite a decent pull if I was just opening packs for fun, but yeah. There's the water Pokemon. I mean, this set also has Lapras V and VMAX. This pack doesn't. Oh well, I'm sure there's other things in this set that will be useful for us. Paraseed, Krabby. I like this guy's handy, although I doubt we'll ever need more than one of him and we bought him previously. I'll put him to the side anyway. Phosphor, Fire, Energy Surge. That seems underwhelming. Just in case. Quick Ball, more of these might be very handy. Avantula, reverse Sobble. Okay, no regrets. This was a fantastic pack. And Locked. Who cares? We're going to be upgrading 2 of our Sobble to reverse this week, and I couldn't be happy with that, if I'm honest. Oh, it's not an improvement on our deck at all, but bling is important. Don't let anyone tell you differently. Let's throw this together and see what we get. I'll try and keep the deck tech short this week. So starting with Pokemon, we have probably the biggest addition, Dedenne-GX. While this isn't the only thing we bought the Trainers Toolkit for, it's likely to have the biggest impact. I've also added in Mimikyu that we opened in episode 2, after some frustrating healing shenanigans from our opponents last episode. To make room for these guys, I have fully removed Kingler and Krabby from the deck. Last week showed that they were just not keeping up and proved more hindrance than help. I've also lowered down to only one Drizzile, as we've added in 2 more rare candies from the toolkit. We've changed our trainer lineup quite a bit, trying to focus down our strategy. The quick lowdown includes our 2 new bosses orders, Marnie, Pokémon Communication, Reset Stamp, Air Balloon, and Quick Balls. We've got an additional Quick Ball and Bede from our packs, and removed a few of the inconsistent or downright useless cards in our list from last week. Next week before our tournament run, I think we'll go a little bit deeper into our deck tech. So let me know in the comments below if you'd rather see me continue to do this in client, or if you prefer we went through our physical deck to actually show off these wonderful cardboard rectangles in person. Game 1 this week began confidently, having us face up against what appeared to be a fire deck, starting a Soul Torkoal. While our starting hand wasn't going to wow anyone, it appears our opponent was having similar luck. We Marnied to both draw a better hand and really push our opponent into a corner. Things continued in our favour, with nothing happening on the other side of the board, while we powered up a now evolved Drizzile and hit for beautiful, beautiful weakness. Our opponent finally managed to get some plays on the board, filling his bench and getting Torkoal out of the active position. But none of that mattered as we used our new Dedenne-GX to draw into our Stage 2 Inteleon. We also made sure to get the Inteleon V onto our bench so we could keep up the pressure in case we somehow lose our active. We continued to dig through our deck with a second Dedenne, putting us further and further ahead of our opponent, whose deck just didn't seem to ever get off the ground. Our opponent plays Pokémon Center Lady, which really makes me feel good about the fact that I put Mimikyu in this deck, even if he's not on the bench at that moment. Switching into the Inteleon V saw our opponent scoop, giving us the first win this week. Game 2 saw more fire in the hands of our opposition, this time in the form of the much more competitive Center Scorch V. We haven't actually faced too many meta decks so far, so this would be a great test for our deck ahead of next week's tournament run. We managed to get our Inteleon V onto the bench while our opponent churned through their deck using Furnace and Jirachi. Professor's research saw our Inteleon V nearly powered up, but no way to get him into the active position. Unfortunately, our opponent's deck was much more optimised than ours, so the one extra turn saw our opponent evolve into Center Scorch V Max, Crobat V up to 6 cards, Welder attach onto Center Scorch, and finally knock out our Drizzile in the active position. We can promote our Inteleon V and Boss's order up his second Center Scorch. My thinking is that if I can't kill the V Max yet, and I have nothing else on the bench powered up, I have to sacrifice my Inteleon V in favour of stopping the quick appearance of a second Center Scorch V Max, which would mean no hope for us. I hope to find my Dubwool V and power him up to be the comeback mechanic for this game. However, I'm fortunate enough to instead put Inteleon V back into my deck with Rod and get him ready for round 2. I lose another Sobble and quickly realise that I've lost too many prize cards in this game to come back, so I hopelessly power up Inteleon V on the bench to at least go out swinging. We punch in for weakness and finally fall to the Goliath that is Center Scorch V Max. Our third game of the day brings us head to head with the Gen 2 beast Steelix V. Another less than ideal starting hand is saved by Marnie, who finds us a quick ball into Dubwool V after we realise Inteleon has been prized. The Dedenne-GX refills our hand and sees us with route to our Stage 2 Inteleon to start attacking. I evolved the wrong Sobble for some reason, so switch it into the bench, sacrificing the undamaged Sobble after setting up the Bede attach next turn with Sonia. Our opponent benches Ninetales V, which to be honest isn't too scary when you consider our attacking Pokemon. Sobble finally dies to the rather weak attacks from Steelix V, and we promote our now fully powered up Inteleon V, with Dubwool waiting patiently on the bench. Boss's orders sees Ninetale brought into the path for our Inteleon, who we two-shot for the prizes. The Steelix player either doesn't find his energy acceleration, or just doesn't run it, as all his big hitting Pokemon don't seem to be getting to full power, and to stall us out, he Boss's orders our own Dedenne into the active position. Luckily for us, we can afford to waste the energy retreating, and KO his newly evolved Copperaja for our third prize. We get Marnied by our opponent, but it doesn't mean much with a Dubwool V and Inteleon either close to or already powered up on the bench. We trade back and forth for a few prizes, but our deck proves to be too far ahead in the game, and Dubwool V gets the final KO on Steelix to seal the deal. Our fourth and final game was yet another strange deck. I actually recorded a few more games as I was starting to worry about the quality of decks I was showing this episode, but only saw even more oddballs thrown our way, so that's just the hand we were dealt this week, and we play on. Our opponent's deck looked rather similar to the Battle Sense Charizard deck we saw in a previous episode, but with a bit extra jank. Considering that we hit for weakness on all but EV-V, I decided to start getting snipe damage on Eevee rather than one of the weaker Pokemon. It proved not to matter too much, as after we knocked out his active and he promoted Eevee, we ended up KOing the V Pokemon with little trouble. Honestly, there's not much to say about this particular game. I just really wanted to show that this is a lot of what we've been playing against, and it's not great practice for the meta decks, but at least we've progressed to the point that janky decks like this just don't bother us anymore. I could have won this whole match with Inteleon V, but I switched him out for the Stage 2 Inteleon, just for fear that there was something I wasn't expecting coming out of our opponent that would KO our Inteleon V and somehow take it, but it never appeared. So we take our fourth game and end a rather strange week of games. Mixed feelings coming out of this week. 3 wins and 1 loss brings our record much closer to the realms of going positive, but we just aren't facing the decks that we need to beat. On one hand, it gives me time to really feel out the deck, see its strengths and weaknesses, but also I know that we need to face those meta decks at some time, or we're never going to win in tournaments. Speaking of which, next episode is our 4th episode, which means we're going to be venturing into our first in-client tournament. Our deck has seen marked improvements each episode, but episode 4 will need to be a big one on the opening front if we want to make it out of round 1. To that end, I am planning on fixing the biggest issue that I think we have, and have had this entire time, energy attachment. As it stands, we fall behind and can't come back if a good deck knocks out our one attacker, and pulling Frostmoth requires a ton of luck. So, in its place, next week we'll be cracking open a Blastoise Torrential Cannon theme deck. We'll go more into it next week, but I thought I'd just throw a little tease in here at the end of the episode. Remember to let me know in the comments below if you'd prefer to see next week's deck tech in client, or do something special and have it on camera. I'll leave it down to the people's vote. Huge thank you to everyone who stuck around. The break between episode 2 and 3 was a big one, much more than I'd planned. I've always envisioned doing this series every 2 weeks or so, and while the project was started, mainly for myself, I feel hugely privileged that people are actually enjoying taking this journey with me. I will aim to get back on the 2-week schedule for the next one, fingers crossed. Meanwhile, for episode 3, don't forget to like, subscribe and all that jazz. But until next time, keep cracking packs.